Revealed, how a heartwarming act for a veteran-s dog led to an incredible Marine standoff. The cicadas sang their evening song as Jake Thompson stood outside the Greenville Vet Clinic, his heart pounding like a drum. His beloved dog, Max, lay inside, fighting for life, and the bills were piling up faster than he could breathe. Jake, a former Marine, felt the weight of the world pressing down on him. Just months ago, he was the pride of his town, returning from service with a chest full of medals and a head full of dreams. Yet now, back in his hometown, the shadows of despair loomed large. The world outside looked the same, but inside him, everything had changed. After pacing back and forth, he pulled out his phone and opened the app that seemed both foreign and familiar. A plea for help was drafted with shaking fingers, bringing tears to his eyes. Max is sick. I can't afford the vet bills. I need my boy. Please help. With a quick click, he hit send, a single quiet plea echoing through the digital ether. What he didn't know was that it would awaken something powerful in the heart of Greenville. The next morning, as the sun rose over the cornfields, something remarkable happened. Neighbors began to arrive at his doorstep with cash in hand, pies, and hugs, reminding him that he wasn't alone. Mrs. Henderson, with her flimsy rainbow apron, dropped off $50, her eyes glistening. Our veterans deserve more, Jake. Don't you forget it. Each gesture was a little spark, igniting the spirit of community that the economic struggles had dimmed. Jake felt hope push back against the despair. He was no longer just a guy fighting alone, he was part of something bigger. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Then, the harsh wind blew in. Roger Ellis, the richest man in Greenville, a businessman who thrived while locals struggled, got wind of this whole ordeal and couldn't help but stir the pot. He stepped into the arena, whispers of deceit unfurling on his lips. Jake's just using your kindness for cash, he sneered, spreading lies that cut deeper than any weapon Jake had faced before. In an instant, the warmth of community felt icy, as the townsfolk began to turn, torn between loyalty and doubt. Jake stood in the town square, tension thick in the air. Faces that once beamed with support now wore frowns of uncertainty. An emotional standoff brewed. Anger, pain, and helplessness collided. He felt like a soldier on the battlefield again, heart racing, body tensed for a fight. But for whom? For Max? For the town he once defended? As voices raised, memories of camaraderie flared bright amidst the hostility. His shoulders stiffened. This wasn't just about a dog anymore, it was about the spirit of Greenville. Could he reclaim his place in this town that seemed to have forgotten him? Standing there, Jake realized the weight of the moment. Would he become a symbol of resilience or the casualty of divide? As the action surged, the crowd teetered on the edge, leaving Jake to wonder, who would stand with him now? Who would fight for friendships dying in the dust? The answer hung precariously in the air, and time itself seemed to hold its breath. The murmurs swept through the crowd like a summer storm. Jake's throat tightened as he looked into familiar faces turned grim. Doubt hung there, thick as fog. He thought of Max, his loyal companion, always by his side through thick and thin. The dog had been his solace when post-traumatic stress reared its head. Now Max was in pain, and so was Jake, trapped between the loyalty of his old comrades and the whisperings of Roger Ellis. Anger rumbled in Jake's chest. Enough! Jake finally shouted, his voice cutting through the air like a knife. Silence followed. Eyes turned toward him, uncertainty wavering between love and suspicion. I didn't ask for this, he continued, desperation causing his voice to crack. I just wanted to save my dog. A few in the audience flinched. Mrs. Henderson stepped forward, her lined face a mixture of compassion and worry. "We know you, Jake, but what if Roger is right?" The gap between them felt unbridgeable. Ever since returning home, Jake had tried to reintegrate, but it seemed the world had changed while he was gone. The town looked the same, but it felt different, and the support he once felt was fraying at the edges. His heart sank as he realized this was more than just about him and Max, it was about trust, and it was slipping away. Jake clenched his fists. "I fought for this town. Every time I put on that uniform, I did it for you all. I would never betray you for a cent." His words rang out, leveled with a conviction that surprised even him. Suddenly, someone coughed a laugh. It was Billy, the local mechanic, who had served with Jake years ago. "He ain't a thief, folks. Trust me, if Jake wanted to scam us, he'd have picked a better target than a vet bill." A ripple of laughter broke the tension. It didn't erase the fear, but it ignited a spark of recognition among the crowd. People began to whisper and nod in agreement. After all, they had all faced struggles. Billy wasn't wrong. Jake had put himself on the line, and maybe, just maybe, he was still the man they remembered, but before the momentum could build, Roger's voice sliced through again, dripping with condescension. "A Marine isn't above reproach, is he? Loyalty is only as good as the dollar." The crowd wavered once more, the warmth fading. Jake's heart sank deeper. Anger twisted in his gut at the thought of betrayal by those he thought were his friends. They had all seen their share of hardship, yet here they stood doubting him. Then, from the back, a soft voice spoke up. Sarah, his high school crush who'd always been the empathetic heart of Greenville. "We can't let his words poison us. Jake fought for our freedom, and now we should stand with him." He looked up, meeting her gaze. It was like a shot of adrenaline. "I won't forget that you're still with me," he thought, hope flickering back to life, but doubt still churned in the crowd. Who would take the first step? Everyone's eyes were glued to Jake, awaiting his next move. He could feel the weight of their expectations, a heavy mantle on his shoulders. "Let us show what Greenville really stands for." Jake shouted, his spirit rising as if a newfound strength bolstered him. Would they follow? Would they fight for him like he had for them? The question lingered, and he awaited their response, feeling a bond on the brink of re-establishment, a community reawakening to the power of unity. As the air around him crackled with the unknown, the ground beneath him trembled with uncertainty. But if there was one thing Jake knew, it was that he had to keep standing firm. Would the town rally behind him, or were the rumors too deeply rooted to claw back from the brink? The answer loomed just out of reach, but he was determined to find it. As Jake stood there, heart racing and fists clenched, he could see the uncertainty written on every face in the crowd. Shadows of doubt lingered in the air, thick enough to choke the resolve he had worked so hard to muster. He felt like he was standing on the precipice, waiting for someone to pull him back from the edge or push him over. Then, as if going over a dam, a murmur shifted in the crowd. It started low, but soon voices rose, a mix of anxious agreement and hesitant dissent. Moments felt like hours as Jake tried to catch a glimpse of hope amid the uncertainty. "Yeah. What about Jake? He's one of us." A voice shouted from the side. It was Mark, a former football star whose name still echoed through town. The crowd began to nod, their voices growing louder, tossing aside the clouds of doubt. They remembered their shared ties, the camaraderie, how they had always rallied when one of their own was in trouble. "You've known me all your life," Jake called, searching for the eyes of those who had believed in him before. "You know the sacrifices I made. This isn't about the money, it's about saving someone who can't save himself." Sarah stepped forward, her face bright with determination. "We faced down bigger threats together. We've tackled our demons. Can't we just stand by Jake now?" The swell of her conviction washed over the crowd, washing away some of the hesitation. Roger stood there, arms crossed, face etched in frustration. The tide was turning, but he wouldn't go down without a fight. And what's next, huh? Just because Jake needs your help today doesn't mean he's worth the loyalty he expects. That word loyalty hit Jake hard. He had given his to this town, to his friends. And here they were, dully ringing in the ears of so many, acting like it was up for sale. But now wasn't the time for resignation? Are we really going to let one man, someone who doesn't know us, dictate the truth of our own history? Jake cried, his voice rising over the murmuring crowd. I came back because I believed we were stronger together. If Roger's words have any weight, let us honor the service we all strive to embody. A chorus of voices erupted around him, each one sharpened with conviction. Together. We stand with Jake. Each person seemed to realize they held a piece of a larger puzzle, and for the first time, Jake felt that his presence there mattered, his fight mattered, but still, Roger didn't give in. He held his ground, defiantly glaring at the growing unity he saw developing among them. You want to believe him? Fine. You'll see. You think loyalty means something? You'll learn. Fear crept back in, wrapping around Jake's heart. What if Roger's words did hold weight? Was it truly that fragile? He felt sweat trickle down his back, sensing the turbulence of growing unrest. But alongside it, a fire ignited within him. He just had to believe in them. Tell me, Jake called out, voice steadier now as he looked from face to face. Are we going to let fear of betrayal dictate our bonds? Or will we prove that trust still means something in Greenville? The silence answered him, thick and electric. In that moment, every heart in the crowd felt the pull of understanding. Whatever lay in the shadows, together, they could confront it. The question hung heavy in the air. Would they truly rally together, or would fear tear them apart? As tension built, a small voice echoed out, the voice of a child from somewhere in the back, innocent and clear. I believe you, Jake. His heart soared, but could they all find that same belief? How far would he have to walk into the darkness to bring them back into the light? The stakes were rising, and perhaps the greater battle was just beginning. In that moment, Jake felt the weight of hope shift the atmosphere. The child's brave declaration hung in the air, mingling with the palpable tension like a spark against dry grass. He looked out across faces etched with uncertainty and fear, but also determination. He could see it now, the flicker of belief igniting among them, one voice catching on like wildfire. Together. Someone shouted again, prompting a ripple of fervor. We stand with Jake. With every rallying cry, the fear that encircled him began to dissolve, replaced by something fierce and undeniable, a unity rooted in loyalty and shared memories. Jake felt his heartbeat sync with theirs, every pulse pushing back against the darkness that loomed, but not for Roger, who stood alone at the edge of the gathering. The defiance in his eyes was a cold storm. You think that's enough? He barked, his words slicing through the rising chorus. Loyalty is built on trust earned, not blind faith. He'll let you down, just like he always has. The crowd hesitated, the energy sputtering just a touch, uncertainty creeping back in like an unwelcome fog. Jake knew he had to speak again, but Roger's venom clawed at him, making the ground beneath his feet tremble. He took a breath, firming his resolve as he stepped towards the man who once stood as a friend. Wasn't it you who taught me that trust can be rebuilt? Jake's voice was steady, echoing the bravery he felt from the child's simple words. We've all stumbled. We've faced our shadows. I ask you now, are we not worthy of our second chances? A flicker of hesitance crossed Roger's face, and for a moment, Jake dared to hope his words might crack the icy shell of doubt surrounding him. He turned back to the crowd, anchoring his gaze on those familiar faces, their laughter, their stories intertwined with his own history. Look around. These are the people who faced challenges together, who fought for one another. What we do today is not just about me, it's about everyone who has ever called Greenville home. We fight for each other, and we win together. The enthusiasm began to build again. The crowd's shared memories surged, weaving an unbreakable bond. Together. Echoed back, louder this time, resonating with a comforting warmth that chased away the chill, but Roger advanced one step closer, visibly agitated. And when it all falls apart? When Jake's mistakes lead to more pain? Are you ready to face that? A collective gasp rippled through the group, a shudder at the thought. Jake felt the tension tighten, threatening to snap. The vulnerability felt raw and real, yet Jake forced himself to meet the haunting gaze of those before him. We faced worse than this. We've overcome. Just think of everything we've been through. That's what makes us family. A palpable shift occurred, the energy surged with reassurance. They remembered the storms weathered and the victories celebrated. As the crowd rallied behind him, Jake felt the fire in his chest blaze brighter. He wasn't just fighting for himself anymore, he was fighting for them. Their unity resonated louder, echoing through the streets of Greenville. Together. They shouted again, hearts swelling with belief, ready to embrace the fight ahead. But amidst their newfound strength, a distant whistle pierced the air, a sound so sharp it made everyone pause. The uncertainty crawled back as they turned to see shadows emerge from the end of the street. It's not over, Roger sneered, an unsettling smile gracing his face. You think this is just about loyalty? Jake's breath caught in his throat. Were they truly ready for what lay ahead? As the figures grew closer, the silence was deafening, and with it came a gripping fear. What awaited them in the shadows? Would they finally find the strength to confront the storm, or would doubt tear them apart? The shadows lengthened as they approached, the chill of the evening settling heavily around the crowd. Jake's heart raced, pounding like a drum against his ribs. He tried to read the faces of those standing beside him, searching for that spark of resolve that had just moments ago rekindled his hope. But now, doubt crept in, making their features hard to decipher. Roger's voice cut through the air again, sharper this time. You really think these people have your back? When push comes to shove, they scatter. Just like last time. Each word felt like a blow, meant to weaken the bond they had formed. Jake clenched his fists. Deep inside, a war raged. Should he let Roger's words fester, or should he fight against this invasive fear? With a shaky breath, he ignored Roger for now, instead addressing the crowd. They're just shadows, folks. They can't take away the courage we've built together. Look at what we have. Look at the light we've lit among ourselves. He stepped forward, his voice rising like a flare against the approaching darkness. We've faced worse before. Trust me, it wasn't easy, but we made it through. Together. The crowd wavered, then a few voices broke the silence. Together. A woman called. Moments later, more joined in. Together. Together. Jake felt a rush of warmth surge through him. That flicker of hope ignited again, the glow spreading like wildfire. Yet, the air was heavy, electric, charged with the unknown. He glanced back at the shadows, now within earshot, revealing figures clad in dark uniforms. They moved with purpose, their stance radiated a confidence that contrasted sharply with the uncertainty now growing in the crowd. Stay calm. Jake yelled, the tension in his voice fighting against the fear creeping up his spine. Do not let them intimidate you. Remember who we are. He could hear the edges of his voice quivering, but he pressed on. As the figures emerged fully, Jake recognized them. Veterans, once part of their community, now standing as a dividing line between their hope and the looming threat that was Roger. These men and women hadn't come for a fight, they looked worn but resolute. Jake! One of them shouted, anger flaring in his eyes. We're here for a reason. These people don't know the truth. His stomach twisted painfully. What truth? Jake had never seen this side of them before, especially now, when unity was their strongest weapon. You're scaring people. Jake yelled back, desperation creeping into his voice. We all went to battle together, side by side. What are you doing? A moment hung in the air, thick with tension. Roger snickered, stepping farther into the shadows. You think they'll choose you over the truth? Think again. Jake's hands trembled as he took a step back, wrestling with the gathering storm inside him. If Roger was right, if the loyalty they had built could shatter like glass, what was left? The crowd began to murmur, eyes darting between Jake and the veterans. Was this what unity meant? Fragile and splintering? As fear seeped back into the air, Jake took a deep breath. There had to be a way to bridge this gap, to reignite that flame. Listen to me. We're better together. There's still time to find common ground. Jake shouted, heart hammering. But insidious whispers began threading through the crowd, igniting doubts. Could they truly stand strong when the truth threatened to tear them apart? Just as he felt the ground slipping away, a child's voice rang out again. Together. All eyes turned to see the little girl he had spoken with before, standing brave and tall, fists clenched. We can work it out. We have to. We're family. Jake's heart swelled. Could they rally around her innocence? Could this be the moment that shifted everything? But before he could respond, Roger's sneer grew wider, the shadows gathering closer. Family? Is that what you think this is? Fear clawed at Jake's insides as he grasped for an answer that might unite them against the growing darkness. Did they truly have the strength to navigate this storm, or would the truth bring them crashing down? As tension filled the air, challenges were laid bare, and a decision loomed. Would they find their way through this, or was it already too late? The crowd shifted, a palpable wave of tension washing through. Jake could feel it in the way they stood, feet planted but hearts trembling like leaves in a storm. The little girl's brave declaration hung in the air, transforming fear into something more potent, hope. Family, Jake echoed, drawing on that word, willing it to take flight. Yes. We are family. Each of us carries a piece of what we've built here. He gestured broadly, encompassing veterans and civilians alike. We've fought together, laughed together, now it's time to stand together. But the veterans were unmoving, their expressions hardening, casting shadows over the rekindling light. You don't understand, Jake. Another veteran shouted. There's a danger you're blind to. This isn't just about us anymore, some truths need to come out. Jake recoiled slightly. There it was again, that gnawing doubt. It crept in like a thief in the night, stealing the hopes he had worked so hard to build. Then tell us. What truth? He yelled, desperation clawing at his voice. If you care about us, share it. We deserve to know. His eyes swept the crowd, searching for support. Some faces were resolute, others uncertain. Just as he feared the tide was turning against him, the little girl stepped forward again. We can find out together. She urged, her voice chiming with innocence. The truth won't hurt us if we stick as one. The crowd murmured again, uncertain but captivated. The raw simplicity of her call struck a chord deep within them. Jake felt a flicker of something, a thin beam pushing through the clouds. Maybe they could fight for something bigger. Maybe they could reach a truth that would unite rather than divide. Roger, infuriated by the shifting energy, thrust a finger toward the girl. You think it's that simple? You don't know the consequences of asking for truths that have buried deep. Jake's gut twisted at Roger's venomous tone, but he refused to back down. That's exactly why we have to face it. The only way we'll grow is through honesty, not by hiding. A veteran stepped forward, hesitation wavering on his rugged face. What if we tell you and it tears this community apart? What if it unearths things you can't handle? Then we'll handle it together. Jake exclaimed, his voice vibrating with urgency. Better now than living in fear. We owe it to ourselves. To our families. He locked eyes with the veteran, willing him to see reason. Across the crowd, murmurs rose again, a tapestry of voices weaving together. Some were scratching at their heads, others nodding, searching for a way forward. Jake's heart raced with the possibility that grew. Listen. A woman called from the back. If we really are family, then let us tackle this together. Let us uncover the truth. As echoes rippled through the group, Jake could feel the shift, the tension building. They were on the brink of something monumental, the air simmering with promises of unity in the face of darkness. Then, just as the trust began to crystallize, Roger sneered again. You think they'll stand with you once they know the truth? Remember, every family has its skeletons. Some things are better left buried. A heavy silence followed, heartbeats loud against the quiet. Doubt lingered, thick and bitter like smoke, and Jake felt it wash over him. Would the trust they'd crafted crumble under the weight of revelations still unseen? With that question looming, a nervous energy coursed through the crowd. The stakes had never felt higher, and Jake found himself eyes wide, heart pounding. He could smell the desperation, the desire to preserve what they had built. Are we strong enough, then? Strong enough to face the truth? He whispered, barely audible, as he looked around. Just as uncertainty settled in like a brick, a voice broke through. It was deep, steady, resonating with purpose. Perhaps it's time we all faced our fears together, even if it means confronting our past. The crowd drew in a sharp breath, energy shifting once more. What awaited them if they stepped forward together? Would they be able to hold on to their community, or would the thin strands of unity snap under pressure? As they grappled with the weight of this impending decision, Jake felt a surge of determination rising within him. They had come this far now, it was time to break the silence. The heart of the matter lay just ahead, waiting to be revealed. But then, from the depths of the shadows, a voice emerged that sent a shiver down his spine. Let us not be too hasty, Jake. You may not like what you find on the other side. The words hung in the air, cold and heavy. Jake's heart raced, pounding in his chest as he searched the crowd for the source of that voice. Who dared to loom from the shadows at such a crucial moment? With each passing second, uncertainty swirled like a tempest around them. Who's there? Jake shouted, trying to summon authority, but the tremor in his voice betrayed him. A figure stepped into the light, the face partially obscured by a worn cap. The crowd collectively leaned in, curiosity battling with a mounting sense of dread. It's someone who knows what happens when secrets are left unspoken, the newcomer replied, voice gravelly yet somehow laced with caution. It's a road paved with pain and regret. Jake's breath hitched. Was this person a ghost from the past? A spirit of memories long buried? But he had no time to ponder. We're talking about facing truths. Not hiding behind shadows and whispers. He insisted, rallying every ounce of bravery he had. The warmth of his determination flickered like a candle in an impending storm, but he fought to keep it steady. The figure laughed softly, an unsettling sound that sent ripples of anxiety through the crowd. Believe me, I wished I had someone like you around back then, but you're too naive to think everything would become sunshine and roses. The truth often brings chaos. A murmur swept through the crowd. Eyes darted around as faces masked their fears. Jake could sense that familiar gnawing tension returning, threatening to choke the hope he tried so hard to kindle. We can't be afraid. We've already survived too much to let fear define us now. But the shadowed stranger stepped closer, revealing a weathered face lined with stories of battles, both external and internal. You sit in your comfort, believing unity can withstand whatever storm lies ahead. But what if I told you that some in this crowd harbor secrets that could fracture that very bond you cling to? What if someone here isn't who they say they are? The implications echoed like a gunshot, ricocheting from one hesitant soul to the next. Jake searched for reassurance in the crowd, locking eyes with the veterans, but their steadfastness faltered. Would shadows from their past designate a rift? Would whispers of the unknown overshadow newfound possibilities? Speak! A veteran finally commanded, cutting through the tension. If there are truths, let us hear them. Let the pieces fall where they may. Silence reigned for a moment, thick as fog, before the shadowed figure slumped in resignation. We all wore the same colors once, he muttered, almost to himself. Little did we know some of us carried burdens no one should shoulder alone. As the weight of those words sank in, a heavy realization washed over Jake. This was deeper than the community's surface issues. It was about connection, about shared histories that intertwined like roots of an ancient tree, hidden yet vital for growth. Someone here knows, the figure continued, voice a whisper yet resonating with authority. And that someone has held the truth back for too long. The crowd shivered, glances exchanged like unspoken agreements. Who could they trust now? Jake's heart raced as he felt the pull of a new revelation drawing nearer. Would they unravel this web of secrets together, or would it tear at the fabric of their community? Just then, the little girl stepped forward again, her innocence radiating like sun breaking through clouds. We can face it. We're all in this together. Jake's heart swelled at her enduring spark, a flicker of hope amid the growing darkness. If there was one thing he knew, it was that this community had endured hardships before. They could uncover wounds and heal them, but only if they had the courage to pull back the curtain. Will you stand with us? He declared, voice unwavering. We need everyone here. Are we a family or not? Eyes sharpened, breaths held. The question loomed a challenge and a plea, echoing back to the roots of all they had built together. As they stood on the cusp of revelation, fear intermingling with hope, a chilling realization settled in. What awaited them in that reckoning might not just be truths, they might awaken demons from the past that none were prepared for. Dread and anticipation hung thick in the air. What dark secrets lay hidden, waiting to be set free? And when they were revealed, would the bonds they cherished withstand the storm? Jake could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on him. The crowd was teetering on the edge, the energy crackling in the air like a thunderstorm ready to unleash its fury. Time seemed to stretch as he sought to rally their spirits, to transform anxiety into strength. The little girl stood tall beside him, her innocent hope shining through the thickening tension. Together, we can face whatever comes, Jake urged, looking across the sea of faces. Some nodded, while others remained hesitant, fear casting long shadows on their resolve. Then, the shadowed stranger stepped forward, intensity shimmering in his eyes. You're right to ask for unity. But consider this, do you really know the people standing next to you? Look closely. Among them, some carry secrets like chains, hiding anguish and pain that could turn unity into dust. The crowd shifted uncomfortably. Faces once filled with anticipation now bore the mark of dawning realization. It was not just about the courage to confront the unknown, but also about the deep connection they shared and the tremors that might undo it. Jake caught sight of the veterans, their once confident postures now wavering. Memories of battles fought together mixed with whispers of betrayal. Enough! One of the veterans barked, shaking his head. We've faced hell before. This can't hold us back. Speak your truth, stranger. Show us what you know. The challenge hung heavy, but the figure hesitated, fingers running along the brim of his cap. What I have is not easy to share. It could unravel ties that bind you now. Let it unravel. Shouted the little girl, words spilling forth with boldness that surprised everyone. If it means being honest with one another. Her small fists clenched, determination radiating from her like a beacon. The stranger's gaze softened, the lines of his face deepening as he considered her words. All right, but brace yourselves. Each secret unveiled can echo through generations. A sharp intake of breath followed. Jake could hear his heart in his ears, the beat matching the mounting anticipation. The atmosphere shifted, the crowd leaned in, caught between fear and a hunger for truth. Many years ago, the figure began, voice dropping to a low whisper, the bonds of community were tested by betrayal. People who once fought side by side turned against each other, hiding dark secrets, the harsh realities of war no one dared to speak of. Souls shifted within the crowd. The shared histories began to unravel like a tapestry. They could see threads of pain entwined with the love they fought to maintain. Jake clenched his fists, feeling the bitter bite of the past against the warmth of their current unity. One by one, people began to speak. A veteran's voice shaked as he confessed to harboring guilt over a decision made long ago. Others joined in, sharing pain, fears, and the weight they carried alone. The dam holding back emotions broke, and tears flowed freely, a mixture of release and catharsis weaving through the group. Jake stepped back, feeling overwhelmed. The shadowed man had done it. He had opened the floodgates of truth, and with each admission, it felt as if burdens were being dropped to the ground. But in the midst of their collective grief, tension still lingered. Each confession brought them closer, yet shadows still loomed, threatening to divide them once more. "Do you see now?" The figure pressed on, eyes scanning the crowd. "You must choose whether these truths bring you together or drive you apart. The spirit of who you are hinges on the revelations yet to come." As whispers filled the air, Jake's heart raced again. The courage needed to share pain was emerging, but could they navigate the treacherous waters of honesty and find strength in unity once more? He felt urgency in the space between them all. The shadows from the past were not the only threat, the future leaned precariously on this moment. As emotions ran high, one vital question hung in the air, cutting like a knife. Would they rise as one, or would secrets fracture them forever? Their next step could seal their fate or lead to something even greater than they dared to hope for. The air thickened, tension hanging like a heavy cloak over the crowd. Jake felt the weight of each revelation swirling around them, mixing sorrow with the flickering ember of hope. The shadowed stranger continued, his voice low and steady, cutting through the murmur that had taken over. "Years ago," he continued, "a tragedy struck this very community. Lives were lost not just on the battlefield, but in the hearts of those left behind. Secrets festered, and when they surfaced, it became a war of silence instead of healing." Jake's heart raced. He glanced around at the faces, some streaked with tears, others hard with determination. The little girl stood resolute, her wide eyes reflecting a mix of understanding and innocence. She had a rare kind of courage, one that could break through the strongest barriers of fear. Another voice broke through the air, shaky but loud enough to be heard. "I did something unforgivable." An older woman, her hands trembling, stepped forward. "I turned my back on a friend in need. I couldn't face my own pain, and instead, I let her suffer alone." Her confession hung heavy, exposing a wound that had undoubtedly festered for too long. Gasps echoed through the crowd. The veteran who had urged the stranger on stepped forward too, his knees slightly buckling under the weight of shared grief. "I wasted years pushing people away because I was too proud to admit I was hurting. I lost friends, family, a future, all because I wouldn't let anyone in." The truth of the moment cracked like thunder, and one by one, people began to share not just their regrets but their hopes too. A man spoke of how, in the depths of despair, he found solace in the loyalty of his dog, the one companion who had never judged him. His voice shook as he recounted how that bond had pulled him out of darkness when he thought he wouldn't survive the storm. Jake felt a fire ignite within him. Their shared vulnerability was like an ancient bond, a lifeline that stretched across their pain and pulled them together. Each story, each revelation, was a piece of armor against the shadows that threatened to divide them. "Every burden shared strengthens our bonds," the stranger reminded them, his gaze unwavering. "But now you must decide how to carry these truths. Will you use them to fortify each other or let them become stones that weigh you down?" As Jake took a deep breath, preparing to speak, he noticed something shifting in the crowd. The energy was changing, morphing into a palpable force. The heavy air, thick with tears, transformed into a sense of determination. The little girl, the embodiment of hope, raised her voice once more. "We're stronger together. We can't be afraid." Her declaration sparked a wave of agreement. People began to nod, their faces transforming from uncertainty into conviction. The tension that had once felt like chains now began to feel like threads, weaving them tighter together. Jake felt his heart swell with pride. They were beginning to find their way, to rise together like a phoenix from the ashes. "Let us honor those we lost," Jake said, conviction pouring from his heart. "Let us lift each other up and create a future built on truth and connection." The crowd erupted into murmurs of approval, a subtle energy pulsing like a heartbeat, vibrant and alive. Yet, beneath it all, the shadowed figure remained, watching silently, his expression unreadable. Jake sensed a storm on the horizon, a deeper truth yet to unfold. Just as hope blossomed, it was tinged with the reality that there was more lurking in the depths of their collective past. The air crackled again, and the question loomed: what other secrets lay hidden, and who among them was still harboring fears that could unravel this fragile unity? The answer felt just within reach, like the edge of a cliff waiting to be jumped off. As Jake scanned the crowd, feeling the pulse of their growing unity, he knew the journey was far from over. The path to healing had only just begun, yet he could sense a reckoning ahead, one that could either sew them closer together or set them adrift in the winds of betrayal once more. Just then, a sudden shout pierced through the atmosphere, shaking him to his core weight. "There's something I need to confess." The crowd grew silent, the weight of anticipation hanging thick. All eyes turned toward the source of the voice. A man stepped forward, face flushed, eyes filled with both fear and determination. Jake recognized him. It was Tom, an old friend from high school, someone who had fought doubts and demons long before any of them had seen combat. "I've been carrying a secret that I thought would protect our community," Tom began, his voice wavering. "But it's time to stop hiding." As he spoke, Jake could see determination etched on Tom's features. This was a man who had faced his demons and was finally ready to rise. "It was me," Tom choked out. "I spread rumors about you, Jake. I thought it would shield you from criticism, but instead, it only deepened the divide." Gasps echoed in the crowd like cannon fire. The air was electric, a mix of shock and understanding as Jake stared at his old friend, disbelief swirling in his thoughts. "Why?" Jake demanded, his heart pounding. "You could have come to me. We could have faced it together." There was an underlying desperation in his tone, a yearning for the bonds they had once promised to uphold. "I was scared," Tom admitted, shoulders slumped. "Scared of losing the respect of my friends, scared of change. I let my fears dictate my actions." Caught in the grip of shame, Tom's admission served as a catalyst. The crowd murmured, feelings of betrayal clashing with recognition. Jake stepped forward, heart racing but unwavering. "We've all been scared," he said, his voice cutting through the confusion. "We've all made mistakes. What matters now is how we choose to move forward. Together." The little girl mimicked Jake's stance, raising her tiny hand in solidarity. "We can be brave, Tom. Just like Jake." Her innocent encouragement doused the tension with a newfound hope, igniting the hearts around her. Slowly, people began to nod, agreement pulsating through the crowd. Tom straightened and held Jake's gaze. "I want to be part of the solution. I want to help heal what I've hurt. I'm sorry, Jake." A moment passed, heavy with the weight of genuine remorse. Jake searched deep within, his heart leaning toward forgiveness. Wasn't this the very moment he had fought for, the very fabric of community woven through shared vulnerability? And as if orchestrated by fate, whispers began to ripple through the crowd, solidifying their transformation. One veteran stepped forward to speak, followed by another, each one confessing their fears and regrets. Each revelation drew them closer, as if their collective pain tanged the threads of grief into a tapestry of resilience. Once again, the little girl raised her voice. "Look at us. We're not alone. Let us stand with Jake, with each other." Her sweetness radiated through the crowd, and for the first time, Jake felt warmth spread through the tension, a palpable connection sparking with life. As the crowd erupted in agreement, together. We stand with Jake. We'll face the truth. The shadowed figure stepped back, finally breaking his silence. That's it. He exclaimed, wonder lighting up his weathered face. You are finding your strength. Jake couldn't help but smile, seeing the spark of unity shimmering in the eyes surrounding him. Together, we'll build a community based on trust and honesty, he declared, confident now, his voice like an anthem rising with hope. No more secrets. No more shadows. We shine in the light. But then Roger stepped forward, glaring, desperation knitting his brow tight. Don't think I'll let this slide. You can't erase what's been said. Fear danced through Jake's gut, but he shook it off. We can't change the past, Roger, but we can choose our future. We're not afraid anymore. Roger recoiled, his bravado trembling at the edges, unsure how to confront the wave of unity crashing against him. Realization washed over the crowd. Standing together had given them courage, with the sun beginning to sink below the horizon, casting golden rays over Greenville. Jake felt the burdens lifted. They were standing on solid ground, fortified by shared truths and mutual understanding. 1. Last wave of realization washed over him. They wouldn't just fight for him, they would fight for each other unified. The crowd erupted into cheers, voices rising with strength they never knew they possessed. Together. They shouted, echoing through the streets, a clarion call of solidarity. As hope fueled the fire in his heart, Jake took a moment to soak it all in. This wasn't just about him saving Max anymore. It was about restoring a community, a family bound by loyalty, trust, and unwavering support. They stood as one and would continue to. As the echoes of laughter and shouts faded, Jake felt the presence of his beloved Max at his side, a loyal companion who had led him here, through every trial and tribulation. Life wasn't without its shadows, but it was the connections they created that illuminated their way forward. Now, with the warmth of the sunset surrounding him and the core of Greenville firmly in his grasp, he believed deep down that this was just the beginning of something beautiful. If this story touched your heart, you need to subscribe now. Don't wait not even one more second. This is the moment to show your support for the channel by leaving a like, helping feed the algorithm and spread hope. Tell me your thoughts in the comments about this amazing ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Let us spread this powerful message together.